Hello LinkedIn land and welcome back to this episode 8 of my GDPR top tips video series. Thank you for staying with me this long. It's been an absolute joy so far. In my last video I talked about the dangers of hoarding, and unusually for my videos it was just about the dangers of hoarding. I know specifically the hoarding of business records and the personal data that's contained in them. Today's episode is going to be about what is the best form of mitigation for dealing with the hoarding. Now, this is not for the faint-hearted. It is a really difficult, really problematic thing for people to get their heads around, and that is quite simply, you've got to have some records management. You've got to know what you've got to know how long you want to keep it, you've got to know when to destroy it, how to destroy it, and who can destroy it. All of that stuff goes against every fibre of people's being when they're in a blame or ask cover culture, because they don't want to get rid of anything and they will absolutely not want to do it. But what if somebody lodged a complaint against us? What if somebody dies and the police come? What if there's a million what ifs? And unfortunately, if there's not a good business reason or a good lawful reason for holding the data, pretty much once it's of no use to you, you want to start thinking about getting rid of it. So I'm used to here in the health service, or no longer in the health service now, but I worked in the health service in Northern Ireland. We had something called Good Management, Good Records, GMGR, and that was the retention and disposal schedule for the entirety of the health service, the fire service, and the associated bodies that all fell under that department there. I'm a bit biased because I helped write quite a big chunk of it, so I quite like it, but there are lots and lots of other different retention policies and procedures out there for lots of different organisations. Just Google search, have a look through. There's lots of free ones online. I'll put a link in somewhere down below to the GMGR. I have to warn you though, it is not the most up-to-date version because the people in Stormont decided to take a couple of year holiday now. The brand new version we spent all our time bringing up to date isn't available online. It's only the older version. But it does have some basics in there. So what we're going to talk about, I'm going to write out what the basics are for a records policy and a retention schedule, and then you can have a think about how maybe you could put some of this best practice into place in your business. So document retention strategy, what is it? It's basically your Bible about how you as a business are going to manage all of your business records. Those of you in regulated financial sectors and stuff are used to keeping things for years. Most finance records in the public sector are kept 6 or 7 years. I think it seems to be the norm across, and that ties in, of course, with how long the law says in various places you should be held, what the statute of limitations is for financial recompensation and stuff. So there's lots of different pieces of legislation that will govern it. Absolutely, the DPA 18 and the GDPR are not the be-all and end-all where this is concerned. There is an absolute multitude of other laws or regulations that you will have to take into consideration when you think about how long you're going to take your business records for. So everything here I'm talking about is generalizations, but it's all based either on what it says in law or on a pragmatic, risk-based approach. Okay, so that's your basic policy, who you are, what you are, how you're going to hold it, who's responsible for keeping them, what's responsible that you're going to keep them in a good state, you're going to remain accessible, they're going to remain intelligible, that they're going to remain available for use, all these good things that the Records Management Society, IAPP and people like that will all tell you to do. So that's it, it's a policy document in nice simple English explaining to everybody what your intentions are, how you're going to go about it. This is backed up with what I refer to as a retention schedule. And your retention schedule is a section, and the ones that I'm used to working with is split into different sections. So each section will deal with a very different part of your business. So in the health service, we have sections about acute hospital records. It goes on for page after page after page, dealing with all the different types of records that are going to be kept in an acute hospital environment. If you're a mortgage broker, it could be something as simple as your mortgage applications. There'll be rules and regulations somewhere in the financial regs about how long you have to keep those applications for, how long you have to keep the unsuccessful ones for, how long you keep the successful ones. And this is it. You're just bringing it all together into one document where somebody can easily look at it and it will say, and break it down in sections where it's easy enough to understand. So you'll have things like finance, you'll have things like HR, you'll have things like customer records, and it'll say in there what kind of customer records you create, what their purpose is. What again, this is where it ties in very nicely with the records of processing activity if you're going through that, because in there it'll have your legal basis for why you're holding them, what your legal basis is for processing them or dealing with them is. And that also ties in nicely to that. If there's any relevant law, it says how long you're supposed to keep it for. Great, put that in there. And then the method for destruction at the end of it. So it's for a lot of stuff in the public sector, it can just go straight to be destroyed. Some of it has to go to here in Northern Ireland, the Public Records Office Northern Ireland, for eternal storage by them because it's of interest. Strange things that go to Prony. The chief executive's yearly appraisal report, it goes off to Prony to be kept forever because it's a matter of public record. It might be of interest to people in the future. There's lots and lots of other strange little bits and pieces, but you decide how long you're meant to keep things and what they're going to get kept for, how long they're going to kept for. The health service has advised that emails are not to be kept. It's the business record it's to be kept, and only if the email is the business record do you keep the email. The big cultural change for them there is filing it and saving it out of Outlook and actually saving it in the filing and the record system. Again, huge cultural shift. It's not going to happen. And I keep coming back to that phrase, cultural shift. There's a lot of it going on, and GDPR has highlighted how much of it needs to happen. So your retention period is based upon guidance, law, risk, need, and basically a privacy balance. Is your need to keep it big enough to overweigh the right to privacy of the person whose data you're holding on to? You have to weigh those two things up. We've got a risk-based approach. So if you say I'm going to keep it in case somebody brings a case against me, the first question I'm going to ask you is, when was the last time you were sued? You're going to go, never. Right? When was the last time that you know about that anybody in your country was sued for that particular thing, for instance, or brought a negligence claim or something of that nature? And you go, well, as far as I know, Google says never. Other search engines are available. This is what you're looking at. So again, your desire to hold on to it just in case is getting reduced and reduced and reduced. And the likelihood that you've got a legal right to hold on to it is reducing and reducing. The danger part comes when you decide to hold on to things and it goes wrong, and you've held on to stuff you shouldn't have held on just in case. Back to the other video, that was the dangers. So that's one of the real clear things about all the rest of this. So let's set out clearly and nicely what it is, how long you're keeping it, where you're going to keep it, how you're going to deal with it when it reaches the end of its what we call retention period, how it's going to be destroyed. If you destroy things, always a good point to keep a record of what you destroyed so that you can turn back in later years and say on, I kept this for so many years and then I destroyed it, and this is the person who destroyed it on date time. Funny enough, in the health service, because they love records for records for records, we have a retention period for the records of destruction. Go figure. But, again, it's all about that accountability and auditability things. And these are the kind of things I think your DPOs are going to start looking at when they're starting to do their audits, to see about your compliance, to find evidence that you are in that mythical GDPR compliant mode, which doesn't exist. And I personally don't think it's something that's ever going to happen. You're going to do your damn best, but you're never going to get 100% compliant. It just isn't going to happen. So to put one in place is a big task. This is why today's video is a bit longer than normal. There is no way I could fit this into the 6 minutes, not with the way I talk anyway. So you need to train your people. Once you've designed this policy and the procedure and you've got it in place, everybody needs to be trained in it. Everybody, because every single person in your business will have some responsibility for business records. Once you've got it in place, you have to put somebody in charge of it. Somebody has to have oversight and ownership of it, and they need to make sure that people are adhering to it. And you need to audit it, the people's compliance to it, on a regular rolling basis. Again, that helps with all the data quality and all the other issues that go around good quality storage of data. All this put together gives you a great set of mitigation to remove the dangers of hoarding. If you don't mitigate it, you are seriously exposed, in my personal opinion. And there is lots and lots of examples of it across the ICO's website where it's gone wrong. And I think that's probably enough for today on the subject of that. There is lots to talk about naming conventions, file naming conventions, enterprise architecture, about how you create and store your data both physically and electronically. But that's too much to go into for today, and we'll probably make its way into another video at some point in the future. If anybody's wondering, I'm going to change of scenery today. I'm just back in from a client, and my office is full of barking dogs. So we're in the main room today. Anyway, it's a Friday. Have a great weekend, although you're not going to see this video till Monday, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you. Bye.